So this is my first medication update in a little while. I know if you saw my last video, you saw that it was basically me filming an update at 2 in the morning while I was having a bad anxiety attack, just very stressed out about everything going on in my life. So I'm feeling a lot better now than I was then. I've been coping pretty well. Obviously, I do have those moments where I do have bad anxiety, but overall, I'm doing quite well, and I definitely think the Trintellix is, helping me in that regard. So the last time that I did a real medication update was a little while ago, and I had been on the 5 milligrams, and then my doctor had raised it to 10. So in my last update, I mentioned that I was having some sleep issues. I was having some insomnia and some problems with going to sleep really late and waking up late, and that was a huge problem for me, and it kind of still is. My circadian rhythm is still very off. I find that I just have most of my energy in the evening and during the nighttime, and so sometimes I find myself staying up late trying to get things done, or I just stay up late watching shows because I don't feel tired at all. I just feel very awake, and that leads me to going to bed very late at night, which leads me to then waking up later in the day. So that is still a problem for me that I'm dealing with, and I'm going to be mentioning that to my doctor when I see her this evening. So basically, I don't know if you could count that as insomnia or just that my circadian rhythm is really wrong, because when I do go to bed, when I do go lie down in bed, whether it's at 3 a.m. or whatever the time is, I do fall asleep quite quickly. So it's not that I'm lying in bed awake for a ton of time, like you would normally find in insomnia, but it's more just that I am sitting up in the living room not sleeping. For the past month, I was needing naps, still very frequently, sometimes every single day I was needing to have a nap. In the last week or two, it's been a little better. I have found that I don't have to nap every day. There are still days where my energy is really bad and I feel so tired. Usually after I eat dinner, I get kind of like a sugar drop and I just feel so tired, and sometimes I do fall asleep at that point. But it's definitely been a little better than it was when I was on the Cipralex, where I needed to have naps every single day for a few hours. I'm definitely feeling a little bit more energy now, but it's not perfect. I do still have those days, as I said, where I do need to have a nap. So that's going to be something that I'm hoping will continue to improve, but I'll keep you guys posted on that as well. I'm still having a little bit of problems with daytime fatigue as well. As I said, it's not nearly as bad as it was on the Cipralex, but I am having some problems with just motivation, having the energy to get chores done around the house and things like that. Alright, so that's it for sleep. Next I'm going to be talking about my headaches. Last time I updated you guys, I was experiencing quite a few bad headaches, and they were causing me a lot of trouble. I was getting them very frequently, several times a week. So these have actually improved a lot since I last spoke with you guys. I'm getting a few headaches. I do still get them. Sometimes it's if I've been exposed to bright light for too long, or if I've been staring at my computer screen for too long, I do get bad headaches. But in general, it's not as frequent as it was before. And I think this is probably to do with my body just adjusting to the new dose of the medication, and I'm not going through the withdrawal symptoms anymore, which were probably exacerbating those. Alright, so my other thing that I wanted to talk about with you guys is my fibro. So the last time I updated, I mentioned that my fibro had been quite bad. I was having a very bad flare which had lasted a few weeks, and I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't sure if it was just my fibro that was going into a flare naturally, or whether the medication was causing it, because as I said, some people do experience joint pain and muscle pain on this medication. So at that point I wasn't sure what it was. In the last month, my fibro has been quite manageable pain-wise. I have gone out of that flare, so I think it probably was my fibro and the fact that I was under a lot of stress and I wasn't giving myself enough breaks, and it caused me to go into a flare naturally. I still have been having problems with daily aches and pains, but again, I experienced that when I was on other medications. I experienced that before I was on medications. So that's likely just my fibromyalgia and not the medication itself. So yeah, I think that flare was just a result of me pushing myself way too hard and basically not doing the right things and doing self-care like I should have been. Alright, so now for the big ticket item, which is my anxiety. And as you guys saw in my last video, my anxiety is pretty bad. So in my last update, I mentioned that I was having a lot of breakthrough anxiety and that it was coming through with a lot of physical symptoms. So I mentioned that I was having problems with chest tightness, chest soreness, problems with shortness of breath, just feeling dizzy, feeling that pit of dread in my stomach, and just overall the physical symptoms of anxiety. And I did mention it to my doctor when I last saw her, and she did remind me that I did have to keep going with the 10 milligrams for at least a month in order to see how it really would be, because even though I was having anxiety at that time, I had only been on the 10 milligrams for a few days. So really you have to stick it out for 4 to 6 weeks to see if that's going to go away, because it does take time to build up in your system and for it to work. So I agreed that I was going to stay on it for a month, and as of today I have, and I'm seeing my doctor tonight at 5 p.m. So we'll see what she says about that. Yeah, so basically even though I was on SSRIs before, there's still that settling in time that needs to occur, even with a dosage change. So as I said, 4 to 6 weeks, it takes that long to see a difference. So even though I was having a bunch of anxiety, that didn't mean that the meds weren't working. It's just that they hadn't been in my system for very long at that dose. So despite the fact that I have been having bad anxiety, I do think the Trintellix is helping it. As I said, if you watch my last video, a huge contributing factor to my anxiety right now is that I have set a wedding date for me and my fiance, and it's coming up very quickly. It's only in a few months' time, and so I have been just so anxious about anticipating the day, the dread of, my social anxiety on the day, and just regular wedding anxiety where I only have a couple of months to plan an entire wedding. So I think that's been a large factor for me right now, and so a lot of the anxiety that I've been feeling has been due to that. But I think if I weren't on the Trintellix at 10 milligrams, it would be way worse than it is. So knowing that, I've been coping very well. And I definitely think that the Trintellix is helping with my anxiety in that regard. If I weren't on this medication, I would be an absolute wreck, and I'm not. I do have my moments where I have breakdowns and where I have a panic attack, but for the most part, I'm coping very well. So I do think that it is helping with my anxiety, and I'm hoping that it'll continue to improve the longer that I'm on it and as it settles into my system. So the last time I saw my doctor, she also prescribed me a prescription of Clonazepam, which is generically known, I believe, as Klonopin. And that was just to help me during the settling in period. Since I had to wait a month for, my medication to settle down, she gave me that just in case I had any bad panic attacks and things. I'm very wary about benzos. Just because they are very addictive and I don't want to rely on them too much. So she did give me a prescription for 2 Klonopins a day, one in the morning and one in the evening, for an entire month. I personally didn't want to do that unless I absolutely had to, and I haven't. So I don't want to become dependent on them, so instead of using them every day, I've been using them as and when needed. And I've actually only used about 3 of them. So she gave me 60 pills and I've only used 3 in the last month. So that just goes to show as well how effective the Trintellix has been. I've been able to cope without having to take any benzos for the most part. I did take one once in order to help me sleep at night because I was having bad anxiety, and Klonopin totally just knocks me out. So I took one then. And then I took one on 2 other occasions when I was just having really bad anxiety and I couldn't deal with it anymore, and so I took a Clonazepam. But for the most part, I've been coping really well without having to take a benzo. But definitely today when I see my doctor, I'm going to be asking her about some options for my wedding day. Basically, I don't want to take a clonazepam on my wedding day because it causes me to be very zonked out, and I basically have to sleep when I take one. So obviously that's not going to work on my wedding day. I can't just go have a nap. So I want to find something that works better. Ativan works okay for me, but I'm not sure if it's just the dose that I currently have or what, but I find that it's not very effective. But I only was given a 0.5 pill, so I might talk to her about if I can get some higher dosage Ativan for the wedding day and see if that helps, because it doesn't conk me out, which is nice. And I might also mention Xanax to her as well and see what her thoughts are on that. But basically, I think it'll be very helpful for me to have a reliable benzo just for the wedding day, because I know I'm going to be super panicked and anxiety ridden on that day. So I just want to figure that out. So basically I wanted to make this video today to give you guys an update before I see my doctor tonight, because my dosage and schedule and everything might change. I have a feeling she's probably not going to raise the dose higher. I don't know, but I think 10 is probably as high as I'm going to go on this one, because it's going pretty well, and as I said, most of my anxiety is likely situational right now. So yeah, I'm doing pretty okay. Obviously I've been having my down times, my ups and downs, but everyone does. And for the most part, I'm feeling good. So I will keep you guys posted with what my doctor says tonight and how the next couple of weeks go. But so far I've been on the Trintellix as a whole for about 3 months, and I've been on the 10 milligrams for just over 1 month. So I've been giving it a good go, and I think actually it's working out very well. I have a lot less of the brain fog symptoms with it that I was having on the Cipralex, and I think it's definitely helping with my concentration. So far so good, and I'll keep you guys posted. So thanks for listening, and like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in getting more updates in the future. Take care, guys.